Dillon Gabriel's continued struggles have left. KS speaking. Coach Stefanski in a difficult position, particularly after he publicly acknowledged that starting Gabriel over. SS practicing, Shedeur Sanders was a mistake. Gabriel's lack of consistency has been a major concern, with his turnovers and poor decision-making undermining the team's chances week after week. Stefanski's failure to recognize Sanders' readiness earlier has only added to the tension surrounding the Browns' quarterback battle.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
The fallout from this decision is growing, with fans and analysts alike questioning Stefanski's handling of the situation. Despite Sanders' clear potential, the coach's stubbornness in sticking with Gabriel has become a point of contention. If Stefanski doesn't make the change soon, it could cost him both the trust of his players and the confidence of a restless fan base. Kevin Stefanski's latest press conference might have sounded calm, but the impact of what he said couldn't have been louder. The head coach of the Cleveland Browns, under increasing scrutiny and fire from every direction, admitted that starting Dillon Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders was a mistake. Those weren't just words. They were gasoline on a fire that had already been burning inside the fan base, the locker room, and the media. Because now it's official. The thing everyone's been whispering, speculating, and outright yelling about for weeks? The coach just confirmed it. This wasn't a harmless mix-up or a small judgment call. This was a decision that directly shaped the course of the Browns season and potentially altered the future of one of the most promising young quarterbacks in the league. Stefanski didn't just pick the wrong guy. He ignored the right one. He underestimated Shedeur Sanders' readiness, overlooked his development, and favored a quarterback whose play on the field has been shaky, error-prone, and out of sync from the jump. From day one of training camp, Gabriel was a guy Stefanski backed. And no matter how many good throws Sanders made, no matter how many signs of leadership he showed, no matter how ready he looked, the door never opened. Gabriel got the reps. Gabriel got the support. Gabriel got the starts. And what did the Browns get in return? A string of underwhelming games, questionable reads, and a steady erosion of trust, not just from the fans, but from inside the locker room. Let's talk about that locker room, because the ripple effects of this decision haven't just played out on the field. From the start, players took note of the imbalance. When you have someone like Sanders, making plays in practice, commanding attention, connecting with teammates, and he's repeatedly overlooked for someone clearly struggling, it sends a message, not just to him, but to the whole team. That message? Performance doesn't matter. Politics does. That breeds resentment. It kills morale. And according to multiple insiders, it's exactly what's been happening behind the scenes in Cleveland. Players have been quietly asking questions. Why isn't Sanders getting reps? Why is Gabriel still starting? Why are we pretending not to see what's obvious? And now, after Gabriel's string of rough outings, including one game that some are calling the worst quarterback performance the Browns have seen in years, the frustration has exploded outward. Stefanski himself is now publicly conceding that Sanders should have been given the shot all along, but the damage is done. This wasn't just about making a mistake. It was about refusing to correct it in real time. And it gets worse, because Stefanski's delay in promoting Sanders wasn't just costly, it was potentially deceptive. Media figures like Stephen A. Smith have openly accused the Browns of manufacturing a fake injury story to justify Sanders' continued benching. That's not a conspiracy theory anymore. That's part of the mainstream conversation. And when that kind of speculation goes unchecked, it reflects a bigger issue. Fans and analysts don't trust what's coming out of the Browns organization. They believe there's been a deliberate attempt to protect Gabriel, even at the cost of the team's success. This is no longer a debate about who should have started. It's a question of leadership integrity, of accountability, of transparency. What makes this entire mess harder to swallow is that the answer was there all along. Sanders wasn't a gamble. He wasn't an unknown. He was showing the traits, accuracy, poise, presence, that you look for in a starting quarterback. He looked like someone who was ready. And yet, because of strategic hesitation or worse, favoritism, he stayed on the sidelines. Even as fans chanted his name. Even as games slipped away. Even as the team stalled. Gabriel, meanwhile, couldn't find his footing. His play was erratic. His decision-making was questionable. And when the heat turned up, his response was to deflect, not to lead. When asked about the Sanders situation, he downplayed it by calling Shedeur an entertainer. That wasn't just tone-deaf, it was insulting, and it backfired. Public support swung harder in Sanders' favor. Because while Gabriel was cracking under pressure, Sanders stayed composed, professional, and, frankly, quietly hungry. He didn't lash out. He didn't take shots. He stayed ready. Now, the question everyone's asking is, what happens next? Stefanski's admission is one thing. Acting on it is another. Right now, Sanders is still on the bench. That's what makes the situation feel even more surreal. You got a coach admitting he made a huge mistake, and yet nothing has changed. No depth chart update. No new plan announced. Just more waiting. And in that waiting, the pressure continues to build. Not just on Stefanski, but on the entire Browns front office. Because this isn't just about a quarterback controversy anymore. It's about the identity of this team. It's about whether Cleveland is ready to make decisions based on merit, or whether it's going to keep running in circles out of fear of shaking things up. The fans, they've already made their decision. They want Sanders. They believe in him. He represents more than just a QB switch. He's a symbol of change, of potential, of hope that the Browns could finally break out a cycle they've been stuck in for years. And the longer Stefanski waits to hand him the reins, the more that hope dims. Let's be real, this is Stefanski's last shot at redemption. If he continues to stick with the safe option, the season's not just in jeopardy. His job is. And more importantly, the Browns could lose the one thing they can't afford to sacrifice again: the trust of their fan base. The team's window to course correct is narrow. Ownership and the front office need to recognize the stakes here. Because this isn't just about salvaging a record. It's about building a foundation of credibility, of fairness, of doing right by the players who earn their opportunities. Sanders deserves his. And now, even the head coach knows it. The locker room sees it. The fans see it. The media sees it. Everyone sees it, except the ones still clinging to the past. And if that doesn't change soon, the Browns won't just be remembered for another lost season. They'll be remembered for wasting the kind of talent teams spend years looking for. All because one man couldn't admit his mistake until it was too late, and still hasn't done anything about it. So here's the moment of truth. Is Kevin Stefanski ready to fix what he broke? Or is he going to stay frozen, watching as his credibility slips through his fingers? If you've been following every twist and turn of this quarterback saga, we want to hear what you think. Should Shedeur Sanders be starting next game? Is it already too late for Stefanski to regain trust? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if you're ready to see a new era in Cleveland. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the most chaotic moments in sports. We'll be here every week, breaking down the drama, one meltdown at a time. At this point, even the most loyal Browns fans are running out of patience. The trust that Kevin Stefanski built in past seasons, his cool demeanor, his calm play calling, his supposed strategic vision, it's all hanging by a thread. And that thread is Shedeur Sanders. Because what started as a quarterback competition has spiraled into something much deeper, a leadership crisis, a moment where every decision made in Berea is being questioned, where every word from a press conference feels like damage control. And now, even Stefanski's own admission that starting Dylan Gabriel over Shedeur was a mistake isn't being received as accountability. It's being seen as too little, too late. The fans aren't fooled. They see through the PR spin, the vague answers, the injury excuses that conveniently disappeared once the media got louder. And when you combine that with the team's actual performance on the field, you're left with a franchise teetering on the edge of implosion. Because this isn't just about winning and losing anymore. This is about respect. Respect for the locker room, for the fans, and for the future of the team. Let's rewind for a second. When training camp started, Sanders didn't ask for a guaranteed role. He didn't come in demanding the spotlight. He just worked. Quietly. Consistently. And what happened? He outperformed Gabriel in almost every measurable way. His reads were cleaner. His footwork sharper. His leadership noticeable. Players gravitated toward him. Yet somehow, all of that got brushed aside in favor of a quarterback who looked shaky from the first snap of the preseason. And still, Stefanski stuck with Gabriel. Game after game. Turnover after turnover. The offense looked like it was dragging itself through mud. Drives stalled. Momentum disappeared. And fans started to ask the obvious question. Why is Shedeur not starting? The media echoed it. Analysts and former players were puzzled. Insiders started to leak that Sanders was crushing it in practice and yet still wasn't getting meaningful reps. And when pressed for an answer, the coaching staff danced around it, pointing to vague concepts like system fit and progression development, as if anyone was buying it anymore. Then came the boiling point, a disastrous start by Gabriel that turned into a clinic in dysfunction. Missed throws, bad decisions, zero command. And after that game, Stefanski finally cracked. In a stunning moment, he publicly admitted that he had made the wrong call. That starting Gabriel over Sanders wasn't just a tough decision. It was the wrong one. The kind that shifts seasons. The kind that stains reputations. But here's where it gets absurd. Even after that confession, nothing changed. Sanders still didn't get the nod. No official statement. No depth chart shakeup. Just silence. And that silence? It's louder than any quote Stefanski could offer. Because it tells everyone, fans, media, players, that maybe nothing will change. Maybe the coach still isn't ready to fully back the player he openly admits should have started weeks ago. That's not just frustrating, it's demoralizing. And now, the Browns find themselves in a worst-case scenario. A coach who's admitted his mistake, but refuses to act on it. A talented young quarterback, sitting on the bench while the offense flails. A locker room split between frustration and confusion, and a fan base that feels like it's watching the same painful story unfold all over again. Let's talk about the cost of this delay, because it's not just about a few bad games. It's about what you lose when you wait too long to course correct. Momentum? Gone. Confidence? Shaken. But worst of all, you lose belief. Belief from the players, who start to wonder if performance even matters. Belief from the fans, who wonder if the front office will ever do what's right. And belief from Sanders himself, who has done everything asked of him, except be given the actual chance to lead. There's also the reputational damage this has caused. When a coach appears to play favorites, when the media begins to throw around phrases like cover-up and false injury, it's not just embarrassing, it's dangerous. It turns speculation into skepticism. It makes every decision look suspicious, and it creates an atmosphere where even the right move, if it does come, is met with cynicism instead of support. And the longer Stefanski waits, the more the narrative slips out of his control. Right now, the Browns are standing at a crossroads. One path leads to yet another lost season, with Gabriel continuing to start and the fan base sinking deeper into frustration. The other path? It's bold. It's uncomfortable. It's the one Stefanski has resisted from the beginning. But it's also the one that could save everything. Start Shedeur Sanders. Not just for one series. Not as a test. Fully, officially, publicly, back him the way you back Gabriel. Because at this point, anything less looks like cowardice. This is the moment to show that you've learned, that you can adapt, that your public admission wasn't just lip service, that you actually care about putting the best player on the field, not just the one you originally bet on. And let's be real, what's the downside at this point? Gabriel's already lost the confidence of the fan base, and likely the locker room. The offense isn't improving. The record is slipping, and Sanders is still waiting. So what's left to lose? Because if Stefanski continues down the path he's on, the consequences will be lasting. Fans won't forget this. Players won't forget this. And if Shedeur Sanders eventually asks out, or worse, flames out because the organization refused to give him a fair shake, that won't just be on the coach. That'll be a permanent stain on the Browns' legacy. But there's still time to turn this around. Starting Sanders now wouldn't erase the mistake, but it would show that Stefanski is willing to put the team first. It would show that the Browns are serious about winning, not just saving face. And it would finally give the fans something they haven't had in weeks. Hope. Because the truth is, Sanders is hope. He represents a new chapter, a new direction, One that isn't rooted in fear, but in belief, in talent, in leadership, in actual results. And every second he stays on the sideline is another second wasted. We've seen enough. The experiment is over. The politics need to stop. And excuses? They don't hold water anymore. Stefanski said it himself. He made a mistake. So what happens now will define more than this season. It'll define his credibility, his command of the locker room, and his relationship with a fan base that's been more than patient. No more stalling. No more protecting egos. No more safe choices that lead nowhere. Start Sanders. Let him take control of this offense. Let the team rally around him. Let the fans finally feel like the Browns are ready to move forward. Because if this moment passes without action, if Stefanski fumbles the one opportunity he has to make things right, then it won't just be a quarterback controversy. It'll be a full-blown organizational collapse. And if that happens, there's no press conference in the world that'll fix it. At this point, the Browns aren't just in the middle of a quarterback controversy. They're stuck in an identity crisis. Kevin Stefanski, once seen as a stabilizing force for a long-flailing franchise, has now willingly placed himself under a microscope. His admission that starting Dylan Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders was a mistake wasn't brave. It wasn't refreshing. It was overdue, painfully overdue. And while some might have seen that admission as a turning point, a sign that maybe, finally, common sense was catching up to the decision-makers in Cleveland, the reality has been far more frustrating. Because nothing has changed. Sanders still isn't the starter. Gabriel, despite every red flag, every stall drive, every sideline meltdown, is still being tried out like he hasn't been at the center of the Browns' offensive dysfunction all season. This is more than stubborn coaching. It's organizational inertia, a refusal to course correct, even when the road ahead is clearly broken. And if there's one thing fans, players, and analysts can all agree on right now, it's that this level of inaction is no longer just costly. It's destructive. Let's put it plainly. Gabriel hasn't earned the leash he's been given. His performances haven't just been inconsistent. They've been damaging. Turnovers at critical moments, misreads, and a general sense that the offense is dragging behind rather than being led. This is not the quarterback play of a playoff contender. This isn't even the quarterback play of a team building toward something. It's placeholder football. And everyone can see it. Meanwhile, Sanders is sitting there, fully healthy, fully prepared, watching games unfold that he knows, everyone knows, he should be a part of. There's no mystery about his skill set. He's shown it in practice. He's displayed leadership in meetings. He's got the poise, the arm, the IQ, the confidence, the presence. So why is he still on the sideline? And that's the question eating away at the team. Because the problem with Stefanski's delay isn't just what it means for Sanders. It's what it signals to the entire roster. When a player is clearly outperforming the guy ahead of him and still can't crack the lineup, what does that say about competition? About merit? About fairness? You're not just hurting one player. You're undermining the entire locker room. The reports coming out now point to exactly that. Tension. Confusion. Players second-guessing the plan, unsure of who's actually calling the shots, and why decisions don't reflect what they see every day at practice. Coaches lose locker rooms not with one bad game or one blown lead. They lose them with silence, with denial, with decisions that prioritize ego over progress. And right now, Stefanski is on the verge of doing exactly that. And let's not pretend the outside pressure doesn't matter here. Because the criticism isn't just coming from fans with Twitter fingers. It's coming from respected analysts, former players, and national media. When someone like Stephen A. Smith goes on air and accuses your staff of faking injuries to cover up strategic blunders, you officially cross into credibility crisis territory. That kind of accusation doesn't just disappear. It lingers. It festers. And it drags your organization's name into headlines for all the wrong reasons. And still no response. No move. Just quiet defiance in the face of mounting outrage. It would be one thing if Gabriel had a few bad outings and then showed growth. But there's been no meaningful uptick in performance. No spark. No sense of momentum. Just the same tired playbook and a quarterback who looks like he's being asked to carry a load he's not built for. Contrast that with the energy that Sanders could bring, the leadership, the tempo, the presence in the huddle that actually inspires confidence. And that's not a guess. That's feedback coming out of the locker room. There are players in that building who want to see Sanders get the start, who believe in what he brings, and more importantly, who believe that he earned it. And that's the part of the saga that makes it feel so heavy, because it's not just a talent issue, it's a respect issue. When you put your head down, grind, show up, outperform the guy ahead of you, and still get passed over, what does that do to your confidence? What does it do to your belief in the people above you? How long before Shedeur himself starts to wonder whether this is a place where merit actually matters? The Browns have long been haunted by dysfunction, by constant resets, by culture problems that seem to sprout up just when things look stable. And now they're at the edge of another implosion. But this time it's self-inflicted. There's no scandal, no off-field drama, no salary cap crunch, just a refusal to do what is clearly right in front of them. You've got a young, dynamic quarterback ready to lead. You've got a fan base chanting his name. You've got players who are ready to rally behind him. And you've got a coach who knows he made a mistake. So what's left to consider? The only thing holding the Browns back right now is fear. Fear of admitting a gamble didn't work out. Fear of change. Fear of backlash from a move that should have been made weeks ago. But the longer Stefanski waits, the worse the backlash gets. Because eventually, even the loyalists stop defending you. The good news? There's still time. The season isn't lost yet, but the window is closing fast. And if the Browns want to salvage not just their record, but their locker room and reputation, there's only one way forward. Start Shedeur Sanders. Put the best player under center. Stop trying to preserve pride and start fighting for progress. Because this moment isn't just about one player. It's about who the Browns are and who they want to be. A team paralyzed by fear or a team bold enough to change course. This is a franchise that's been begging for leadership, for vision, for guts. And right now, all that hinges on one decision. Will Stefanski finally back up his words with action? Or will he keep delaying, keep deflecting, and watch the season unravel along with his credibility? The clock is ticking. And every second Shedeur Sanders sits on that bench is another second the Browns fall further behind. Let us know your thoughts down below. Should Stefanski make the change now? Has the locker room already lost faith? Is there still time to turn this ship around? Or has too much damage been done? Drop your comments. Hit that like button if you're tired of watching talent rot on the sidelines. And make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the wildest stories happening in the NFL every week. This isn't just another bad call. It's a franchise-defining moment, and we're watching it unfold in real time.